As an artist myself, one of the things I always think about is what's going to be my legacy.
This is a very happy day for me. I've known Mr. Malone for quite a long time, more years than I can remember. But he and I started to have a different kind of a relationship when I was director of City Gallery East and City Hall East. And I guess it was about 2004. He came to me with an idea for an exhibit. He wanted to feature work by artists who had been working in Atlanta for a long time. And he was going to curate the exhibit. So I think I suggested the title of the exhibit, Homecoming. And I also suggested that he apply for a grant from the City of Atlanta Contracts for Art Services to help fund the exhibit. So the exhibit happened. This photograph is a photograph of Mr. Malone in front of his work in the exhibit. And as a result of this exhibit, I actually introduced him to Brenda Thompson, who now owns these 4 pieces and many more pieces. Wow. But like I said, I'd known Mr. Malone for a long time, but that exhibit started a closer relationship with him. Over the years after that, he would come to the gallery with ideas, and I'm kind of speaking on 2 behalves, on a personal level and on behalf of the Office of Cultural Affairs. Because when it was known that City Gallery East would be closing, Mr. Malone stood before the Atlanta City Council advocating for it to stay open. I think he's, to my knowledge, the only artist who did that. And the Office of Cultural Affairs and me personally, we appreciate that very much. What he doesn't know is that Eddie Grandison and I were discussing having this exhibit that you have here at City Gallery East, and would have had it there had the gallery stayed open, but it didn't. So when I heard about this exhibit, I knew he wanted to have a catalog, and I'm not just trying to fluff myself up here. Again, I suggested that Mr. Malone or Kevin apply to the City of Atlanta Contracts for Art Services to help fund the catalog. So the application was had, and to go a bit further, I even had myself put on the review committee. You know, I had myself put on the review committee so that I could actually be there to make sure that Mr. Malone's application got a fair hearing, because if you've ever sat on one of those committees, sometimes people can get very petty and do foolish things, but so the catalog is here, so he got the grant. I guess that's about it. And if there are any artists here, I'd like to suggest, I recommend that you apply for a grant from the City of Atlanta Office of Cultural Affairs Contracts for Art Services as an individual artist. There are never enough applicants from individual artists, and the awards this year were $4,000 each. So any struggling artist who lives in the City of Atlanta, I'm sure, could use $4,000 to help promote whatever they're doing. And I guess with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Brenda Thompson.
Thank you. And on behalf of Larry and I, we really want to thank the Hammonds House and Freddie for all the things they've done to help promote and to keep a memory of Mr. Malone's work. I first saw Mr. Malone's work at the Bureau of Cultural Affairs and the City Hall. And I saw it and I'd seen Mr. Malone's work before, I think as a cartoonist in the paper. It was a little different than what we often collect. But one of the things about it, it reminded me in many ways of some of the work you see, believe it or not, during WPA, because during WPA, what Roosevelt wanted artists to do was to paint what was around them, to inspire people by just painting life, maybe happier times in life, and to paint life. And when I got to know Mr. Malone, what I realized was that he was a product of an area in Atlanta called Buttermilk Bottoms. And I don't know where that was or what that was, but it was a special place. And it always perked him up as he talked about it. Because the thing about Buttermilk Bottoms and Mr. Malone was, it was a place in which black people lived, they took care of themselves, and they made do with what they had. And he was always saying, we made do with what we had. And it was a happier time. And you know, maybe it's a little poking fun sometimes there, but it's not really, because what I see in Mr. Malone's work is a real pride in himself as a black man, and a pride in, I think I missed this microphone, I'm sorry, I'm not used to talking, but a real pride in who he is as a black man, and a pride that he wants black people to have in our culture. So Larry and I are always looking for artists in which they have a voice. And the one thing about James Malone's work is you see his voice. You know his work no matter where it is. And what was happening was that what we were seeing was if you go to his house, his trees are painted, people were coming by and buying the work. And so what Larry and I wanted to do was to pick up as much work as we can. At some point, we pass it on to somebody else. We'll keep some pieces. But that way, we won't be sitting around as a culture saying, do you remember James Malone? Do you have any of his work? And you don't have it. So we believe that it's our responsibility to take care of our own community. And I'm really delighted that Kevin and Myrna and the Hammonds House has done this. And I'm really proud that I've met Mr. Malone. We have some work, and that we'll be passing that work on to institutions that will protect it. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to introduce Andrew Malone, who just came in. He is the son of James Malone, and he is also the one who designed the catalog of his father that you see. So I want everybody to acknowledge him and give him a hand as well. James Malone, for me, is a community artist, a cartoonist, and a fine artist all in one. Now, what do I mean by that? Often in our communities, we have artists we always see who are working, doing work, documenting what's going on in the neighborhood over years and years of time, also going off and doing their own fine arts work, but also having the humor and dignity intertwined to kind of depict us as we are. Now, a lot of times we can get real highfalutin in the art world. We can start talking about abstraction. We can start talking about all the other things we do as artists. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we must always find space and time for artists who depict us as we were, as we are, and as we hopefully will be. And James Malone is one of those artists who has done that. When I look at his work, even in the most humorous works of art, I see so much dignity in the works. You see someone who truly loves his people and loves all the things that we do. And some of the things we do can be crazy, but he finds a way to find the dignity and beauty in those. So he didn't want me to tell you too much about his lifespan and career. He said, just look at the catalog. My son has put the timeline in there. So what he wanted to do was basically have you ask him questions and we'll just field them back and forth. But we have an artist standing before me who was born in Buttermilk Bottom in the 30s, still painting. He painted that last big mural that you see in the second gallery at the end of 2010. So he was painting that piece the whole time leading up to this exhibition. And we're honored, and I'm honored as an artist to say one day I hope to be just as active at his age and just as insightful. So without further ado, I bring you James Malone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to leave a word and a leaf fall from your mind. I am James Hiram Malone. I'm 80 years old, and I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be in Atlanta. And to tell the truth, I'm proud of whatever vicinity I live in, because I'm going to try to make the most of that area. When I lived in Detroit, I tried to do my best there and here too. So what happens is, right now I live in Grove Park. That's a few miles from here. And I have lived here about 20 years. When I was living here, when I lived here, I tried to do the best I can. And when I was, like I said, in Detroit, I raised a family there. These are my offspring. And
I'm not saying enough.
Okay.
That's about you.
What happens is I believe in doing the best I can wherever I can. I grew up in Buttermilk Bottom, and on the west side of town, at Washington High School, and that's where my roots are, at Washington High School. That's where this facade, this idea of the 60-year turnover came about. What I wanted to do was do the best I can. What happens is, when I was in Washington High, I was in an art class. And Dr. Gideon, he's the principal of W.T. Howard School, when I was painting, and he came by and touched me on the shoulder. He said, "Young man, I want you to be an artist at my school when you finish here at Washington High." And that's where the scenario began. So when I finished while I was there, I found out that I could not go to some schools here in Atlanta. So I made my way, I tried to go the other direction. So I went to High School of Art, tried to, that is. They wouldn't let me go. That was in 1949. So what happened is, after I tried to go, listen to me now, when I tried to go to High School of Art, they would not let me go. So what I did, I took another route. It was wartime. It was in the 40s. So I said to myself, what am I going to do now? I don't have a job. I don't have any enough background to do what I wanted to do. So what I did, I took another step. I went into the United States Army. That's what young boys do. Young black boys do when they can't, when one thing doesn't work out, that's what we do. We try another alternative. And I like that. So what happened is, when I went to, were inducted into Fort Jackson, I made the best of it. Hear me now. I made the best of it. When I went in there, I went into special services. There I got a job. My first commercial job. After I got that job, I went to overseas. I went from here to abroad and did what I had to do. And that, to me, was a lifesaver. So there, we have to do what we have to do. After I came from the services, I went to, I got another job working for different department stores. I went from Prolly's to different stores to get my degree and to do what I have to do. So when I did what I did, I just floated right on. I still couldn't get what I wanted, but I got something.